and I'm here today to show you how to do some cool collage. Now, not only are we doing collage today, we're also doing some painting. We're going to prepare some homemade kind of cool, colourful artworks that then we're going to cut up and stick together to create two awesome artworks. These artworks, firstly, there's a unicorn sort of jumping over a rainbow in the clouds, and also a cuddly Aussie koala friend. Something I want you to learn with collage is that it's all about planning and layering. You need to consider what is furthest away. Sometimes people want to do the details first, like for example the horn of the unicorn, but you always have to consider what goes down first, which is the background. So we're going to build up the layers, up and up and up and up and up, to create this gorgeous detailed artwork for all ages. The koala is probably a little bit more simple. The shapes are larger and not as fiddly, so maybe the younger kids can also have a go at this one.
All you'll need for today's collage task is some watercolours, some paper, and some scissors and glue to cut and paste with. I get my supplies from a great company called Zart, and you can check out some links below which will help you to get some materials. So today guys, I'm going to show you how to create some handmade colourful paper, and as usual I'm using Zart Art's Micador brand of watercolour palettes here, and I'm just going to decorate some plain watercolour paper with lots and lots of colours, and then I'm going to do some cutting and pasting to turn it into an artwork. Now I'm going to show you two options today, one of which is going to be a unicorn and the other a koala. So we're going to start with the unicorn. Now you can just use some scrap paper as I have here. I'm using watercolour paper just because it absorbs the paint and the water a lot more, but really you can probably use any paper. Now there are different sections within the artwork I want to create today. A part is a rainbow, the unicorn, and some clouds. So let's start with the clouds. I'm just going to literally paint on a bit of blue. Now this task is fantastic for all ages because as you can see I am in no way being overly neat with it. We're going to use the parts of the paper that we find the most interesting. So for now we're just having a bit of fun with creating some colourful paper. You can use some blending techniques that I've shown you in previous videos if you'd like to do that. Otherwise, that's definitely enough for our clouds. Now, I'm going to have a go at doing the rainbow. Now, to save on cutting, I'm actually just going to create my rainbow using paint and just cut it out. But if you wanted to do it separately, you could create like a red section, an orange section, and cut them all completely separately. But I'm just going to show you what it looks like if you just create the rainbow all by yourself. There, again, that's enough. Now I do need something colourful for the unicorn's horn. So you can choose whatever colour you like, but I might just create some pretty colours here. Again, you can just use the part that looks the most interesting to you. Notice I'm adding a few patterns now. Cool. All right, we're going to let that dry now. And for the unicorn's body, I'm going to create some splatters. So I'm actually going to hold my paintbrush directly facing my paper, and I've put some nice purpley pink on there, and I'm going to use my finger to flick up, and that will make the paint go down onto the page. Ready? This will create a bit of a speckled unicorn. This will become the body. There we go. We only need about half a piece of paper for that. You can add another colour if you wish. Kids will really enjoy that part. Wonderful. The last thing I need to do is just create a section for the unicorn's mane. So just using some nice light and bright colours together here. The reason I'm painting fairly messy is because I want to show you, even if you have some really young, inexperienced kind of painters, the outcome will look fantastic. All right, so that's our unicorn paper. We need to let that dry completely. Now, I don't know about you, but I have a lot of just old painted paper like this that the girls have sort of created stuff on, and I've kept it. But you can probably also reuse paper like this as well. Otherwise, if you're wanting to recycle some old wrapping paper, things like that are fantastic and you can use for this activity as well. Now, the last thing I need to do is create some paper for the koala. Now, you could do a bit of an abstract koala if you want, but I'm actually going to use some realistic sort of browny grey colours. I'm going to mix my white there to create different tones. And the idea is for it to be fairly textured. You don't just want to paint really perfectly so that it just looks like a brown or grey piece of paper. You might as well just use a brown or grey piece of paper. So it is important to make it a bit scratchy, add some texture like I did with the flicking. You could leave some sections a bit white, you could leave some sections fairly watery. But the palette at the moment is a more of a natural kind of colour scheme here. Oops, a bit of green as well. Wonderful, that should definitely be enough for our koala. We do need a little bit of pink for some ears and the belly as well, so that's that there. Now, watercolours don't really take all that long to dry, so I'm thinking maybe 10 minutes max, just to walk away and let that dry before we go on to the next step. See you then. So the next thing we're going to do is cut up some of our beautiful handmade paper and turn it into a picture. So we're going to start with our unicorn, and for the backing piece of paper I'm using some awesome craft card from Zart. I'll put it down in the link if you'd like to get some, and I've cut the A3 piece of paper into an A4 piece of paper, so that's the size that I'm working with today. You'll also need some scissors and some glue and a pencil to draw your shapes. I'll draw my shapes in a texter today just so you can see what I'm doing. So we're going to consider what is in the background. So that might be some clouds and it might also be the rainbow. So we're just going to cut out the rainbow. You might have noticed I added some glitter as an extra detail. So chop off the little scrappy bits there. And we're going to measure that, great, and stick it down. Lots of glue on the back, just to make sure it sticks nice and flat onto our background. There. So even though my edges aren't perfectly straight, that's okay, because I can go in and neaten up those edges like that. Now I'm going to do some clouds, and I'm just going to do a couple spotted around the background there. You just have to look on your piece of paper where you think it might be a nice little area for a cloud, and we're just going to draw a shape that looks a little bit like this, and then straight on the bottom. So you can make a few of those, a few different sizes. I'm going to do 3. I like the combination of the white with the blue, otherwise you might just choose to do blue. Now when I'm cutting, I'm going to cut the inside of my line so that you don't see my black marker. And I suggest that if you're drawing with pencil as well, Otherwise, you can draw on the back so that you don't see the line, but a cloud should look something like that. I do need this little section. That's going to be the unicorn's horn, so I'll save that for later, but the rest can go in the bin. Looking good so far? All right, now for the tricky bit. We're going to draw a unicorn with this section of speckled paper. Now I am going to draw on the back because I will need to do a bit of sketching. And I'm going to help you by breaking down a unicorn's body into simple shapes. So what we're going to start off with is an oval. That's going to become the body of the unicorn. Then we need 4 legs. Now I'm going to draw these legs sort of looking like a bit of an arch shape. For now, I'm only actually going to do 1. So let's start off with these shapes and then I'll show you what to do next. There's the body. Now, because I have a leg shape here and I want to try to get them similar, I'm actually going to just trace around the shape I've already cut 1 time. And then I'm actually going to turn it around so that our legs are all of a similar shape. And then we cut them. Kind of looking like a spider at the moment, but I promise it will look like a unicorn soon. So I've just drawn the shape of the neck there. It's a bit of a tricky sort of shape. It's almost like a rectangle with a triangle connected to it, if you can see that. And then the shape of the face is a circle. And then I'm sort of building up the shape of a unicorn's nose by creating a bit of a triangle shape there and connecting it with the circle. We're going to cut that out. So we want to build up the shape so that they connect together to create a bit of a horse shape. We're going to add the mane and the tail later on. So you can glue those down now. Now, an important part of this task is to make sure that you're using enough glue. I often need to remind my students to go back and add more glue because the layers of the paper are not stuck down properly. If you have any bits that stick out like that, it's just a matter of going back and adding a bit more glue to keep it nice and flat. So now we're going to use this yellow area to create a mane and a tail for our gorgeous unicorn. At this point, you probably do need to sort of measure where you want it to go, so that it does fit the size that you're sort of after. So I'm just giving myself an indication of where I want my tail to sort of come out. And then I'm going to cut a wobbly sort of shape, almost like an S shape out of those lines like that. I don't want to see my lines, so I'm going to trim that. I'm going to do the same thing with the mane. I sort of need to measure where I want it to go. We want it to have a bit of a fringe. And this bit, you can have fun with it. If you cut across like this, you can then add some little triangles coming out as if it were a flowing kind of mane. Can you see that?
Oh, unicorn.
Do you like my unicorn?
Oh, see?
Yeah. so adorable. I think we need another little cloud here. What do you think? We need this guy again because we're going to make the horn. Just a bit of a triangle shape. It's better to cut bigger than you want it to be and then trim it. If you cut it too small, there's no going back. Some other little optional extras might be some little hooves. You could use the same colour as the horn for that, which is what I'll do. Now, as I said, I had some other paper lying around, so I'm just going to cut some other girly things out, like stars, just to add some detail to my artwork now. These are all optional extras. Now, as a last detail, with a pen, I'm just going to draw tiny little details for the face. They're too hard to do with paper. And there you have it. Let's move on to our koala now. So this time I'm going to work in portrait. I'm going to work with the Zara Art Craft card again. And the first thing I'm going to do is find a piece of paper that's going to work really nicely as a background. This one is really cool because it's got lots of details. It almost looks like the Australian bush. So I'm going to turn that over. I'm going to trace around a big, large circle. Cool. If you didn't have any paper like this, or you didn't make any, please feel free to use some plain paper. You could use some wrapping paper, whatever you like. We're going to stick that down. It's just going to create a bit of a background for our koala. This was my koala paper, and I'm going to now step by step show you how to draw a koala using simple shapes. So the first thing we're going to work with is the head, which is just a bit of an oval shape. And then we're going to do a semicircle for the body. So choose a spot that you think might work well for the head. I'm going to choose here. And remember to consider the size of the circle that you've done. We want the koala to fit inside the circle. I've drawn my oval quite big there. Remember, because we're cutting the inside of the oval, it's better to draw too big than too small. I think that's a good size. All right, now I'm going to have a semicircle sort of coming down. So I might want to use my head as a bit of a guide as to the shape and where I want it to go. There. All right, so my semicircle is going to come down like this. More like an arch. Now we need 2 ears that come from the side. We want them to be quite big, probably like that. And just like I did with the legs of the unicorn, I'm going to cut the shape that I would like for the ear once, flip it over and trace around this. It helps us to get 2 ears that are the same size. You can see they look quite cute there. And all we need now are 2 arms. We'll have one arm sort of waving and one coming down like this. So the shape I might draw on the back is sort of a long oval shape. And then on the end, we're just going to do something that suggests a hand. There. Now because I need 2, once again, I'm going to trace around it. He's looking pretty cute there. Now I actually want him to sit inside this circle. So I'm going to draw where that circle ends and cut his body to shape. That's better. Now we're just going to create the circles for the ears here. So I want something that's going to be smaller than this. So if I just trace around the outside, that will help me when coming up with the size that I want this pink inner part of the ear to be. So I'm going to cut inside the shape like this. So cute. Now, the important thing to remember with collage is that you need to stick everything down that is furthest away first. So for example, I actually need to stick the ears down first and the arms, and then keep layering and building on top of each other. Now I need to stick the body. And then the head. You'll notice if your fingers are super sticky, the paper will stick to your fingers and not down when you want it, where you want it to go. So you need to make sure that you keep probably washing and drying your fingers so they're not sticky like mine. So I'm going to now draw the facial features of our gorgeous koala here. And koalas have quite big oval noses. So I'm using a Sharpie. I'm going to colour that in. You could use paper if you want to. I'm going to give him two gorgeous little eyes and a little smile. There he is. A koala and a unicorn made out of homemade paper.
So it's as simple as that. I really hope you've enjoyed creating an Aussie koala and a beautiful rainbow unicorn using some painting and collage skills today. Please make sure that you tag me at Artlife Art Lessons on Facebook so I can see all the cool things you're doing at home. Please don't forget to subscribe and also like and comment on this page so I can upload some more in the future for you. Thanks so much for joining me. Love you all. Bye.